And are we good?
Yep, we're good. That screen there changed. It's gonna give me a bit of a hard time adding while you're live, but that's okay.
Okay. And it is, we're all good now? Okay, I
Yeah,
see.
we're good. We're good. I am missing some slides, but we're good to start.
No problem. Um, First of all, hello, everyone. You see that we're trying to get going here and getting used to this new platform that we're working on. Nonetheless, I want to make sure that we're set and we're ready. But welcome back to the channel. And we want to um, say once again that we hope that you have enjoyed this beautiful day thus far, coming into the evening. I was going to do a few things today. However, um, while pulling those things together, a few things came up, and I'm going to go another direction. We're going to actually give you what to do first in the assembly, the very first motion. And we're going to explain everything with that motion. And the purpose for this is so that immediately in the assembly, some things can be done that would actually set the tone of the assembly. And it would actually change a few things that would make it pretty much easier for everyone to be able to do what it is that they need to do. So, with that said, um, let's go to that first page to go over the master motion. This is actually called, everyone, a master motion. And the purpose of a master motion is to actually initiate something as the first motion and, quite frankly, again, set the tone. Um, and you will be able to follow along with me as I kind of go over it and read it along with you all. So, immediately following the completion of the roll call for the delegates that are there inside of the assembly, um, anyone in support of this motion must immediately stand, raise their hand, and get the attention of the chair, which is the person over the meeting or whoever is at the microphone. Now, once you do this, then simply read the following statement out loud, slowly and clearly. And yes, you can prepare all of your motions in advance. In fact, it is actually advised that you do just that. Therefore, when you are about to make your motion, you don't forget anything. You're able to state everything that you would like to say so that you can move the meeting into going into that direction. So, with that said, once the roll call is completed and a quorum is set, um, you want to simply stand up and say, Mr. Chair, General Assembly Secretary, Mr. Chair, I rise to place a motion on the floor to ensure an equitable, transparent, and legally compliant assembly that enables our delegates to act in strict accordance with federal 501c3 regulations and the laws of the land, thereby safeguarding the vital interests of this organization. This motion is introduced in light of recent operational ambiguities that necessitate a rigorous commitment to corporate integrity and oversight, to protect the chief executive officer and the executive staff from unsubstantiated allegations, and to ensure their professional reputations are fully shielded from unverified claims. These measures are established to maintain the presumption of innocence and administrative propriety. Now, what this is simply saying is, as we begin, that we want to set the tone for transparency and to let it be known in the beginning of the meeting to preserve the environment, the atmosphere of order, while allowing everybody to hear crystal clearly that the intent is to make sure that no one is feeling as if they're being accused of any wrongdoing. And can you go to that next screen? Now the motion continues. So all of you, until we get to the end of this motion, need to understand that from the time you say, Mr. Chairman, right? That'll be, I think, Mr. Jimmy Jones will be there. From the time you call Mr. Chairman, whoever calls the meeting to order, and you begin reading, you continue reading and copy this down, write this down, type it out. But you continue reading until you get to the end of this motion. Furthermore, this procedural framework is advanced in alignment with the executive office's own commitment to absolute transparency, allowing these proceedings to occur entirely free from interference. By establishing these protocols, the CEO and executive staff actively demonstrate their fiduciary integrity, reinforce the Assembly's trust in their leadership, and provide a secure, structured mechanism to bring any latent or unresolved organizational challenges safely to light. Because of the sensitive nature of these governance matters, these steps demonstrate to our membership, the general public, and our regulatory agencies that this body operates with the highest standards of legal accountability. Therefore, I move that this General Assembly immediately adopt the following special rule of order to govern our physical layout, safety, language, legal compliance, and conduct. Now, what this does is it, again, establishes for everyone who's listening, hello, thank you, all to the staff, our staff, but it immediately sets the tone for everyone who's there to understand that the purpose is to keep everything legitimate, to keep it all lawful, to keep it all legal, and to make sure also that we don't have any issues when it comes to transparency whatsoever. So that first paragraph, you see that the procedural, we're setting up the framework for the procedures of the meeting, is advanced in alignment with the executive office's own commitment to absolute transparency. So this is for Mr. Cunningham and all of the individuals that are in council and the executive staff to make sure that they understand that this is something that will protect their public image, their reputation, and their name. It does not allow for any allegations of guilt to stick because this is saying that those parties and anyone else are pretty much innocent of anything, as the law says, until proven guilty. And that's for every single delegate and every single attendee inside the session. Once again, this sets that tone. In the middle of that first paragraph, by establishing these protocols, the CEO and executive staff actively demonstrate, it includes the fiduciary integrity that we are here to ensure that we take care of the best interests of the organization and its people. Let's go to the next frame. And it continues here. Again, you will hear the introduction, and this is explaining why this special order is being placed as a motion for everyone to vote on it. Whereas this General Assembly is gathered strictly as a civil deliberative body to conduct secular corporate business under the District of Columbia Nonprofit Corporation Act, DC Code Title 29, Chapter 4, and under federal IRS 501c3 regulations, it is not convened as an ecclesiastical or religious service. All this is saying is that the purpose of the General Assembly has nothing at all whatsoever to do with the religious side of the organization. Okay, the purpose of the assembly is to take care of the business of the organization, which is in compliance with the 501c3 status. Okay, so where you see that is gathered strictly as a civil deliberative body to conduct secular is pretty straightforward. Is saying we have nothing to do on this side with anything religious. This is all secular business to be conducted over here. Okay, it keeps everything business related. Nothing that can be misconstrued from the religious practices of the organization. And whereas DC Code 29403.01 limits the corporation strictly to its lawful secular purposes, separating the legal authority of corporate delegates and the CEO from the spiritual authority of bishops, council members, pastors, and elders. And whereas the individual chairs positioned on the elevated front stage, as well as any individual chairs positioned on the main auditorium floor in the front, and all ecclesiastical or religious titles are designated exclusively for religious practices and ceremonies, which are not to be entertained during this corporate business session. Now, therefore, be it resolved that to ensure strict separation of corporate business from religious practices, the use of church or religious titles is barred for the duration of this assembly. And all attendees, officers, and leaders shall be addressed exclusively by the civil titles of Mr., Miss, or Mrs. And be it further resolved, you want to go to the next frame? Again, the purpose of this is to make sure that there is no issues at all pertaining to getting the business side of the organization confused with the religious side of the organization. But be it further resolved that to prevent any implicit or explicit intimidation of voting delegates, all pastors, councilmen, and the chief executive officer shall be strictly prohibited from utilizing any elevated individual front chairs on the stage, as well as any individual chairs on the main auditorium floor in the front, and are hereby ordered to sit exclusively within the first 5 pews of the front middle section of the auditorium floor. And be it further resolved that the voting delegates of this General Assembly shall sit anywhere directly behind said officers, leaving exactly 1 empty buffer pew in between the officers and the delegates. and that delegates utilizing the left and the right side pews shall likewise leave exactly one empty buffer pew in between themselves and the middle section. And be it further, now all that means is that the men there is normally on the general council or the pastors and the CEO, that they sit in the pews to the front, who normally sit up in the individual chairs, that those men, the pastors, the councilmen, and the CEO, that they sit in the front chairs in the middle of the assembly, because they are the leaders of the religious side of the organization. They sit there in the middle in the first few pews, 5 pews, with one empty row in between. And if need be, they still have the first 5 pews on the left and the right side, with one empty pew in between, where all of the other members of the assembly, where they would sit. And that resolves any claims or accusations of intimidation practices, right? It completely eradicates it. Further resolved that the voting delegates of this General Assembly shall sit anywhere directly behind said officers, leaving exactly one empty buffer. I've read this, go down to the next. Resolved that the CEO is prohibited from entering through the middle doors or walking down the center aisle, and must instead enter through the designated side door and walk down the side aisle to take his seat on the floor, and along with the council and the pastors as the CEO. Further, and be it further resolved, that immediately upon the completion of the roll call and the establishment of a quorum, this General Assembly shall bypass all executive addresses, ceremonial reports, and preliminary remarks, and shall proceed immediately and directly into the consideration of main motions and new business. Okay? Meaning that afterwards, after the completion of the roll call, this is the motion, that the approval of this motion bypasses the executive addresses that you hear normally from the CEO to address the body. That means there's no salutations, there's no greetings, there's no remarks being made, no commentary coming from the CEO. There's no remarks made from any of the other staff. There's nothing at all, any remarks made from them. But also that everything else is bypassed to immediately get to main motions. That way, individuals can come forward and begin making their motions immediately without waiting after this motion is actually passed. Next frame, please. And be it further resolved that all credentialed delegates maintain the absolute, unrestricted right to use electronic devices and cell phones for the purpose of audio and video recording the entirety of this assembly. And be it further resolved that any and all administrative or procedural rules unilaterally implemented by the CEO, executive officers, or ministers over the past 20 years are hereby suspended and shall not be enforced pending a full investigation by an independent committee authorized by this General Assembly. And be it further resolved that any and all amended constitutions enacted or backdated within the past 20 years are hereby suspended, and that the Constitution of 2006 shall be utilized and enforced only after and subordinate to the enforcement of the laws of the land, the rules and regulations of corporate regulating agencies, and 501c3 statutes. And be it further resolved that all authorities, privileges, and powers granted to the bishop within the 2006 Constitution over the people, properties, or organization are hereby suspended for the duration of this session, pending a full investigation by an independent committee to be selected directly by this General Assembly. Now, all this is saying is, first, the members of the General Assembly retains the right to utilize any electronic, if they so desire, recording device, to include cell phones, for the purposes of audio recording or video recording. Now, we're going to cover the laws of the District of Columbia, which protects the rights of the delegates to actually use the recording devices, both audio and video. And the purpose of that is because it allows for transparency, and it's actually something that will be used as a permanent record in the event that these things need to be called forward in the court of law. But those rights are actually protected by the District of Columbia. When it comes to the administrative and procedural rules implemented by the CEO or executive officers and ministers over the last 20 years, all that means is any additional rules that has been implemented by the CEO, by general counsel, by pastors, by anyone. Those rules will be, once this motion is passed, suspended and not to be enforced, pending a full investigation regarding those rules, the implementation of those rules, and the purpose behind those rules, as well as who established and initiated them. The next paragraph is for all of the amended constitutions all the way back to 2006 to also be suspended. And matter of fact, let me just read this middle section. Suspended, and that the constitutions of 2006 be utilized and enforced only after. So the Constitution of 2006 is to be enforced after the laws of the land or the 501c3 statutes and regulating agencies. And the last paragraph is that the authorities and the privileges and the powers granted to the bishop in the Constitution of 2006 over the people, the organization, and its properties also be suspended pending a full investigation by an independent committee that is to be selected by the actual General Assembly members themselves. Next frame, please. Be it further resolved that any and all committees established by this General Assembly shall be composed strictly of independent delegates and shall absolutely exclude any current pastors, councilmen, or executive staff members due to the pending investigations into their potential involvement in non-compliant actions. And all that's saying is that the committees that the General Assembly are to put together cannot, under any means, involve executive staff, the pastors, or the councilmen. And it's only because of these pending investigations. So all these things is really to being offered to protect these individuals so that they cannot be implemented in the event that there's something that pops up or something that surfaces. So this is some very tight language to offer protections, as well as to allow the members inside the General Assembly to be able to do what it is that they need to do without any fear of retaliation or any tactics being used to instill fear and intended fear or intimidation in any of them. The next, be it further resolved that any motion approved by a simple majority of this assembly that is consistent only with the laws of the land shall supremely rule and dictate the business of this meeting. All motions is simply saying that they must align with the laws of the land, and that any motions that don't align with the laws of the land can be stricken. They can be overruled. Be it further resolved that all private security personnel, staff, and any other non-delegate individuals are strictly prohibited from entering the auditorium, the hallways, or adjacent corridors during this session, and that this assembly shall immediately appoint 2 independent floor monitors from among the delegates. You want to swap that back for me? Thank you. Appoint 2 independent floor monitors from among the delegates to continuously patrol the halls and corridors to ensure total compliance with this exclusion. And all this is saying is that if you are not a member of the General Assembly, if you are not a delegate, if you are not an individual that's supposed to be inside of the auditorium handling the business of the General Assembly, that you will not be on that side of the door, that you will be on the opposite side of the door with the door shut. And that there are monitors from the General Assembly that they choose, that the Assembly choose to walk around, even though they're still listening, even though they're paying attention, even though they still have an active vote to participate in votes, and even though they can still hold discussion, right, on motions, that they're simply going back and forth and checking the doors to make sure that there's no one at the doors or inside the doors or down in the vestibule, right? It's just to make sure that no one is inside the auditorium that should not be. There should not be any guards. There should not be any maids. There should not be any family members. There should not be any staff, executive staff. Everyone inside the auditorium are to be delegates only, or individuals that make up the General Assembly, which is only delegates and the CEO. And once again, so that everyone understands, a pastor, even though we don't call them a delegate, they are a delegate inside the General Assembly. The General Assembly does not recognize them as a pastor because that is religious side. That the pastor has nothing to do with the business side. You're there, yes, because you are a pastor, and that's what our Constitution calls for. But once you arrive at the General Assembly, then those titles, they're not to be used. Now, in the past, in the Constitution, it lists those titles. But remember, the issue that we've been having is there's been a merging of the business side and the religious practices coming together, right? But the problem is they should not be coming together. And that's what this also does. It completely separates the religious practices of the organization from the 501c3 business at hand of the organization. so that individuals can come and deal with the business of the 501c3 and the governance of the organization, even though we have religious practices within the organization. So it completely shuts out the practices of quote unquote the religion as well as the titles, so that there's no confusion whatsoever in the assembly. And these are all actions backed up by law, and we're going to go over that as well. And be it further resolved that any motion approved by a simple majority of this assembly, that it is consistent only with the law of the land. Again, actually, I covered that already. Private security, we covered that. And the monitors, we covered this, that any attendee or officer of this General Assembly who exhibits disruptive behavior, acts of intimidation, or attempts to violate these rules shall, upon a majority vote of the Assembly, be immediately restricted from voting, speaking, or participating for the remainder of this session. Right? If there's somebody who gets out of character and their actions become disruptive to the orderly and peaceful flow of the assembly, that the assembly, anybody can call them out, take a vote to have that individual restricted from any longer speaking, voting, or participating, for the remainder of the assembly. It's not to excuse them, even though we need to make it clear that a motion can be put on the floor if they continue to now have them excused. Okay. The next frame, please. And this is the last, and be it further resolved that the vote on the adoption of this entire special rule of order be taken immediately by roll call vote. Roll call vote, so that the name of every individual delegate and their specific vote is permanently documented in the official corporate record to expose anyone who attempts to oppose legal transparency, 501c3 compliance, or the laws of the land. So what this clause does, it binds everyone in the General Assembly, everybody coming and everybody going. It binds them to the idea of being honorable, having integrity, and coming with the framework of wanting to get real business done under the umbrella of law, while being transparent in everything being carried out during the assembly and being compliant to 501c3 regulations. Now, the best thing about this is today is Tuesday. Wednesday. Tomorrow's Thursday, and then there's Friday. So we literally have about a 36-hour, a day and a half advance notice on this master motion that can be read by anyone, anybody. You would think as soon as the roll call is over, at least 100 hands go up in order to put this motion on the floor. Every hand should go up to put this motion on the floor. because everybody there should want transparency, honesty, compliancy to the laws. And nobody going there should want to keep this lawful meeting a secret or private or without documentation. Nobody should want the meeting to be able to take place without use of the laws of the land, because now it opens up the door for corruption. And with a roll call vote, what that means is you go back to the roll, and one name at a time, you call every single one, and they answer yes or no, not yay or nay. And the reason for that is because people are listening, but they sound similar. It's not certain for some people whether they're saying yay or nay. Yes and no are clearly distinctive words separate from one another. You cannot easily confuse them. And to have every person's name called out and their vote being recorded and documented, it will also serve as a document in the event that the record needs to be called forward while an investigation is pending to see how the individuals actually voted in the General Assembly. And what that does is, again, it adds a layer of protection for everyone, And it becomes questionable if there's anybody there that does not want these layers of protections in place. And the question obviously is, well, why would you not want protections offered to you by law? So it holds the people bound to knowing that their name is being recorded on a permanent record that can be called forward and show right out the gate whether or not I'm in support of something that's going to be compliant with the laws of the land, and something that literally takes away things that are questionable regarding the laws of the organization, things that are questionable regarding the laws of the land, and things that are questionable regarding the laws of the 501c3 statutes and regulations as well. So with this in mind, the best tip that I can give you is, when you're reading this, pace yourself. Read loudly, read clearly, and make sure you enunciate each and every word. Read slow enough for people to actually hear everything, but you want to get through it. Now, this may be a 4-5 minute read. It looks long, but it's not that long. And again, each frame stacks on the one before it. Excuse me. I'm sorry. Each frame stacks under the one before it. So with this in mind, as soon as this motion is read, now also remember, every delegate has the right to be heard. Every delegate has the right to be heard. And so looking at this entire thing, when the person is recognized who has the floor, everything else stops. Nobody else is to be talking until they're done. No one is to talk over, because again, that's what the chairman's job is, to make sure that that person has the floor and they're being respected. Okay. So now when you look at all of this, let's understand why we have this in place. Again, this is what's referred to as a master motion. And the master motion, its purpose is to set the tone immediately. This master motion acts as a legal and a parliamentary shield from a statutory and corporate governance perspective. Each one of these resolutions, each and every single one, strips away coercion. Anybody that claims that they're being coerced to do something. These votes, sometimes individuals have claimed that they were coerced, right? That they were intimidated, that they were moved by fear. These resolutions strips away coercion, and it establishes a legal defensible paper trail. Because now with a vote, roll call vote, again, in the beginning of the meeting, it shows whether you're for law and order or you have a problem with law and order. If corporate actions are later challenged in court or audited by the IRS or investigated by the District of Columbia Attorney General, these resolutions prove the Assembly acted as a legitimate civil governing body. And that's what it does. It protects everyone in there, but especially the delegates who are skittish and don't really know what's going on or what to do. It literally protects you. Okay. And you do not want to get caught up in anything of this magnitude. When you're representing an entire organization, the legal function of each of these resolutions. Do you have that frame? The legal function of each of these resolutions.
Let me know where that frame.
It should be right after
Oh
that
yeah,
one.
I did. Just go to the next one. Is this the one here or one more?
One more. Thank you, sir.
No problem.
Now the legal functions. Matter of fact, before we even go there, let me touch on these. I forgot about this. So transitioning to the civil titles. Okay, so before we go there, let me explain this. The legal functions okay. Once again, it ties all of this together and it allows for the laws to be utilized, the regulatory agencies to be respected because the regulations are being followed. And it also allows for the members of the General Assembly to have protections as well, just in case anything comes up that they themselves are not aware of or completely quite understand. Here we have, for those of you who do not quite understand the purpose of actually doing this, overturning some information is the best thing that you can possibly do to go forward, so that you can go back, make sure everything is tight, make sure everything is lined correctly, make sure everything is in compliance before moving on, because you don't want your work in the future to be undone by incomplete work in the past. I hope that made sense to everyone. So, with that said, let's move on to understanding the resolutions themselves. So, you see here, if you go back to transitioning to civil titles, okay, a lot of people might have an issue with this part. But the purpose of this is it establishes standard corporate decorum. Now, a lot of you are not going to understand some of the terminology, okay? But for the corporate governance of our organization, this keeps everything neutral, meaning the authorities on the religious side that has a position that's over members of the organization, they do not come into the General Assembly, because those titles inside the religious practice are not over the members of the General Assembly. Remember, like a board of directors, everyone in there is equal. You have nobody that is a subordinate to anyone else. So that's the transition to civil titles. Instead of pastors, council, apostles, elders, bishops, all of that stays over there. It is a clean-cut separation from the religious practices. The benefit to the executives is using standard civil titles clarifies that the assembly is meeting strictly in its capacity as a secular, remember, non-religious, legally incorporated 501c3 business. We're coming together to handle business. This separation protects ecclesiastical leaders from having their spiritual authority or religious offices entangled in secular corporate liability or legal disputes. Now, that may sound a bit confusing, but let me put it this way. If you have a debate, you have a discussion inside the General Assembly, because they're all equal, if I don't like something that you want, but normally you're the chairman of the state that I'm from, I need to be able to see you not as the chairman. I need to be able to see you as just someone who's in here so that we can get some business done. If you're the chairman and I am the first lady of a certain congregation, you don't need to see me as the first lady. You need to see me as a member of the General Assembly. It completely moves aside the stumbling blocks of being able to communicate freely while we just see each other as Mr., Ms., Mr. Wallace, yes. Ms. Homestead, yes, right? No titles, no positions. Everything is equal. And therefore, we can get the business conducted. Also, it does not allow for disrespect. In a meeting, I can't speak my mind if I think Again, you're my pastor. I'm not supposed to disrespect you. In a meeting of governance, you're supposed to be able to speak freely. And if I see my pastor, or you see, again, the pastor's wife from another congregation, well, then you can't speak freely. So this does away with that. Can we go to the next frame? Restricting seating to floor pews. Optimization of equal floor participation. Everybody is equal on the floor. Again, looking up at people or people in the front establishes something in the mind as we're not equal. I have to respect you as whatever. Neutral framing. It keeps everything on an even keel. The benefit to the executives, placing all corporate participants on the same physical level, demonstrates from you, an open, fair, and collaborative governance model. It ensures that no single officer can be accused of using structural positioning to influence votes, and thereby reinforcing the democratic legitimacy of all decisions made. And so what will happen during an investigation is these things come into play. Where they're sitting, how they're looking, what is the feel and the tonality of the environment. Excuse me, you want to do things that keeps everybody level and equal. And this certainly does do that. Also, there is in past General Assemblies the opportunity for the individuals to nominate and elect a General Assembly secretary as well as assistant. It has been said General Counsel only. This also nullifies that. You are a part of the body. The General Assembly body is supposed to be electing a General Assembly secretary. The body is supposed to be conducting the business, not the General Counsel. The General Counsel does not come in. The doors of the General Counsel are supposed to be shut. The doors of the General Assembly are supposed to be open for those General Councilmen to come inside of. And they're supposed to be dressed down, so to speak, conservatively. But when those doors are open and for them to come in, they come in as a part of the body. They don't come in as a part of the head. Once again, keeping the members equal one to another. Want to go to the next frame? The one pew buffer zone. A buffer is an area in between, and it does not allow for a whole lot of interaction. The neutral framing, implementation of professional spatial boundaries, right? It allows the boundaries to remain intact between the people and the officers of the organization. When it comes to any type of officer of the organization, the ministers, the council, and the pastors. This creates an orderly, quiet perimeter around the executive staff. It ensures that no individual can approach, interrupt, or crowd the leadership during active business, thereby protecting the executive's focus on maintaining boardroom level decorum in the assembly. Okay. So where the people are sitting, you'll have no issues at all with anything being alleged by anyone. If there are certain individuals that believe that others are coming to do something collectively out of order or suspiciously, well, that buffer zone does not allow for that, right? Again, these are the individuals that are the leaders, so to speak, of the religious side of the organization. Um, and it allows for the members, the rest of the members in the assembly, to lower their guard because they don't have to see them staring at them from the front. They don't have to see them raising eyebrows and looking over one another from the front. It immediately lifts and completely raises the playing field for everyone, everyone. This creates an orderly, quiet perimeter around the executive staff, thereby protecting the executive's focus and maintaining boardroom level decorum in the auditorium, right? Again, they're in their space, everyone is around them, and it allows for that barrier to be removed that is psychological in the minds of the people. Next frame. Specifying the CEO entry and aisle use. Keep in mind, standardized entry and exit protocols. Keep in mind, the title of the CEO is to conduct business. The CEO is a hired employee, and their job is to conduct business. Now, the hired CEO is to be received by the assembly the same as any other delegate. Remember, they're coming to give reports as well as to sit through a performance evaluation. The bishop, however, the doors are to be used for the bishop. The middle aisle are to be used for the bishop. But for the CEO, no, we don't want to cross anything. We want to keep everything where it is. In the business side of the meeting organization. So again, since this is all business, you're not entertaining titles, you're not entertaining religious practices. The bishop going up the middle to the chair on the platform, that's the religious practice. The CEO coming to a meeting has nothing to do with that, so he comes in another way. It ensures that executive arrivals don't inadvertently disrupt the floor or pause active business. It streamlines the flow of the meeting and allows the executive office to enter calmly, professionally, and without procedural distraction. Everyone's not going to turn and look and get caught up in their entry into the meeting. They should already be in the meeting in the first place, right? Next frame. Proceeding directly to business after the roll call. Agenda efficiency and time management. We already know that they want to go. When we're looking at the roll call, immediately after the roll call, we would normally go into the agenda so that we can vote on it. The purpose of going immediately into motions is to save time. It moves directly to corporate business, minimizes meeting fatigue for the delegates, and keeps the assembly focused on essential statutory requirements. This protects the executives from seeing the meeting stall or dissolve into unproductive debates over secondary matters. Keep in mind also, if there's one part of the meeting complete, then this allows the meeting to go ahead, jump forward into the next thing. No stalling, no stopping, no whatever. Go ahead into the next thing. But that's where the chair assistant comes in. Number 6, mandating the right to record with cell phones and electronics. Contemporaneous documentation and transparency. The benefit to executives is allowing open recording ensures that a completely accurate, objective, and unalterable record of the meeting exists. All these people have their own minutes. You cannot alter it. All these people writing things down, you can. But having a digital recording, you cannot. You cannot stop it. You can't restrict it. And we're going to get into that more in depth in a moment. But it directly protects the CEO and staff against false allegations, misquotes, or twisted narratives regarding what they said or did during the session. You have evidence everywhere. All these delegates, everyone. And if no one has a recording, then that raises a suspicion, right? Nobody has a recording, all these people that were there, it raises a suspicion. Next frame, please. And number 7, suspending 20 years of unilateral rules and reviewing constitutions. Operational audit and baseline compliancy checks are necessary. They are extremely helpful. Can you all imagine if there were no audits? Well, it's easy for some of us because we've never heard of an audit. If you go further down, freezing recent complex policy changes and returning to the foundational 2006 baseline. This is not the foundational constitution. It's a foundational constitution to the recent constitutions, because this is what was there before them and prior to them. And we will be looking into other investigations pertaining to those constitutions too. However, verify that all current operations perfectly align with modern IRS 501c3 codes. This protects executives from unknowingly referring to outdated or legally non-compliant rules that could trigger an audit. And so again, this is what we see the current Constitutional Revision Committee make the claim that they're doing, right? However, as we go further, as we keep moving on, we see that there's questions pertaining to several of the constitutions that people are not outright understanding. So this deals with that and does not allow for any confusion. And while stating simultaneously that it's pending also an investigation to further make sure that it's sound and it's lawfully sound. Let's go to the next frame. Suspending constitutional powers of the bishop for the session. Again, the benefit here is no one will be able to say that you acted disorderly. No one will be able to say that they did anything out of context or out of procedure, that they made a decision, that they overruled, nothing whatsoever. Because the CEOs, once again, act at the discretion of the General Assembly. You don't come barking orders, giving orders, demanding orders. You only come as a member of the General Assembly, not a delegate, but a CEO who is to answer for your evaluation over the last 12 months. What's interesting here is that has never happened. It's never taken place. Right. So again, this is a further sort of protection. Right. Nobody can say that we're not trying to see to it that if you're innocent, you're innocent. If you're innocent, you're innocent. This will do everything to protect innocent people. We want to make sure that we're assisting you in helping to do things according to the law and be protected from the law doing something to you if you haven't done anything wrong. Right? So this is also a protection for every delegate, right? To make sure that you're not caught up in something that you don't know that you're caught up in. Conflict of interest mitigation and administrative insulation. Excuse me. The benefit to executives, it temporarily places administrative authority into an independent holding status during the session, and as it completely isolates the bishop from accusations of self-dealing or manipulating corporate outcomes. Without this, he could be accused. With this, well, how are you going to accuse him? If you stand behind these laws, the self-dealing and manipulating corporate outcomes. It provides the leader with absolute plausible deniability and total protection against claims of executive outreach. Plausible deniability. You get to deny involvement in this, that, or the other because you have layers of protection saying that you took the most secure and solid approach to see to it that everything is going to go the way it's supposed to go. That's what this clause is actually saying. Look at the next frame. And excluding leadership from investigative committees, ensuring objective third-party validity, ensuring that the results are valid. If people are left to it, they look into whatever, they investigate whatever, they cannot be blamed if there's nothing. They cannot be blamed for interference. They cannot be blamed for stalling. They cannot be blamed for anything. Anything, right? Unless there's irrefutable proof. So with that in mind, keeping executives off the review committee is standard corporate governance practice. It ensures the final report is viewed by regulatory bodies, banks, and the public as 100% independent and unbiased. It shows that you're doing what's necessary and you're not trying to be biased. You're not trying to create any type of leverage. You're just making sure that you have a meeting and get the business conducted like you're supposed to. A clean bill of health from an independent committee carries maximum credibility, completely clearing the executives' names. Right? So we have every opportunity to do what's necessary to in order to make sure that the organization itself is credible. that the people that's attending this meeting, that they maintain their honor and their integrity. Let's go to the next frame. Supremacy of legal majority votes. Statutory alignment and compliance floor. This clause protects the entire organization from passing a popular but illegal motion that could jeopardize its corporate charter. We want to save, we want to make sure we protect, we want to do the things that we need to do so that we can move forward to do the things that we want to do if we like. But it starts with putting things in place that will keep people going forward, so to speak, and it'll keep people protected when they go forward, so to speak. So this is your benefit to the executives. And look at that second portion. It guarantees that the assembly cannot inadvertently vote to break DC or federal law. Keeping the corporation safe from external litigation. And if you are protected, then that's what you want. You don't have a bunch of people coming after you now. This is what you want. Next frame, please. Evicting private security, appointing delegate floor monitors, replacing outside security with internal delegate monitors lowers the tension in the room. It lowers the tension in the room. You don't have people looking at other people who aren't supposed to be there. They don't have qualifications, certification, the necessary wait a minute. Hold on 1 second. 1 second. I'm gonna mute for 1 second. Okay. Replacing outside private security with internal delegate monitors lowers the tension in the room, and it cuts security costs, but we don't really have that problem because we're not paying for security, right? Our security literally is volunteered. It completely removes the risk of an aggression, a moment of aggression by any of the security or any of the people towards security for that matter, in the event that there's a misunderstanding about anything. But they are to stand outside. Same thing with family members, same thing with maids, right? They are to be outside of the assembly. That is not a penalty. Okay. They're simply being asked to leave as a form of respect to all the other delegates because you may be dealing with sensitive matters. And it shields the executive board from costly physical liability or personal injury lawsuits. Again, this can be pretty dirty if things were to blow out of proportion. The next frame, please. Immediate discipline for disruptive behavior. I think this is self-explanatory. This protects the executive officers from being shouted down or interrupted by unruly attendees. And Yeah, self-explanatory. Um, we don't anticipate anybody getting out of character, but it does happen. Sometimes individuals are, dealing with physical ailments. Um, Sometimes individuals um, dealing with other issues that they don't tell people about. And when it comes to those types of individuals, um, while they're here in a setting with the General Assembly, at times you've seen in the past, um, these individuals have gotten out of character. Sometimes it's due to them not feeling well. Sometimes it's due to onset of stress. Sometimes it's anger because of a physical ailment or a condition. And it happens all the time. Everything is not necessarily because of the governance, but the thing is, if that happens to anyone gets out of character, this allows the assembly to immediately take care of it and bring order back to the assembly so that things can be done peacefully. Okay. Sometimes you may be dealing with emotions because individuals are dealing with things that no one knows about outside, or family matters, or work related issues. You just have no idea. So, disruptive behavior, you have to have protocols in place, um, and it protects the executive officers from being, again, um, disrespected by these individuals that are here. So the meeting should remain dignified and professional. Next frame, please. Excuse me. Mandating a roll call vote. This will yield a verified, audit-ready corporate recording. You won't have to prepare anything. It's already prepared. You just have to retrieve it. To show that you had discussion, to show that you had a vote, to show that you're still complicit with the laws of the land. This right here is the most secure, I believe, way of voting. A lot of people don't like it because if they don't like something, they don't like their name going down. But everyone, again, we are entirely different people and we do certain things. And there's something called voting your conscience, right? Voting your conscience. Some individuals are already coming to any setting like this. Some individuals are already coming there with their minds made up to do certain things. And because their mind is made up to do certain things, they're not really paying attention to things that's on the floor. So it's unfair because sometimes people have voted for things not knowing that they're voting for something because they came with their mind made up to do something and they're not really paying attention. With this also, a roll call vote, it puts your vote on a document. And now that document can be retrieved and examined by anyone. And as long as everything is as it should be, then there should not be a whole lot of issues with the roll call vote. The only thing is it's time consuming. However, it eliminates a whole lot more time in the meeting. Because to have this master motion voted and approved of, especially again by a roll call vote, you're setting the atmosphere, you're setting the record, everything going on is going to be so airtight, because you're having all these measures implemented and put into place to allow for transparency and to allow anything that needs to go on to show whether or not people truly are what they say they are. Here, let me go to the next frame. Here we see what the law says about electronic recording and digital minutes. Now, while the District of Columbia nonprofit, right, while they do what it is, I need that screen up again. Here we are. Okay. While the District of Columbia Nonprofit Corporation Act does not explicitly grant a unilateral right to film an in-person meeting against the will of the chair, it heavily favors, protects, and legalizes digital electronic recordings for transparency reasons. It does not grant a right to film, meaning you're not going to be sitting there and filming anybody or even the assembly, right? But in the event that a situation comes up, it does protect and it favors, while legalizing digital electronic recording for transparency reasons. Now, again, we have that page on the background. Again, look at the first bullet point. It establishes a permanent digital record keeping. A permanent digital record is kept, but it's required. This establishes a permanent digital record. The law dictates that a nonprofit corporation must keep permanent records of its minutes and actions. The statute explicitly allows those permanent records to be stored in an electronic or other medium and is retrievable in tangible form. That means even if it is digital, it can be printed out. And it can be printed out in many different ways or forms to be used later. The virtual meeting, concurrent hearing law, DC law formally recognizes electronic recording and broadcasting technology. It states that if a meeting is held using electronic communication, it must use technology that allows members the opportunity to read or hear the proceedings substantially, concurrently with their occurrence. Let me go back. Now, y'all forgive me for a moment because things are beginning to run together. This has been a lot, and all day today we've been covering so much. So the statute explicitly allows these permanent records to be stored in an electronic or other medium and retrievable by tangible form. A virtual meeting, the virtual meeting, concurrent hearing law, formally recognizes electronic recording and broadcasting technology. Broadcasting mean video or recording. It states that if a meeting is held using electronic communication, it must use technology that allows members the opportunity to read or hear the proceedings substantially concurrently with their occurrence, to listen to it along with the actual meeting itself, right? Just like when the organization records the members during a service, but there's nothing that we've agreed to allow the recording during the service, but we know that members want to hear the service and even in fact view it along with the occurrence of the event. And the law protects this practice. Why it matters for our assembly. If an assembly adopts a special rule of order, allowing the delegates to record the meeting on their phones, the CEO or the chair cannot argue that recording is illegal under DC law. DC law fully embraces electronic formats for recording corporate actions and transparent streaming. It's all about transparency. That's why it's allowed. Next frame. Who has the power over the General Assembly? When a 501c3 religious organization meets in a secular General Assembly capacity to conduct legal, financial, or corporate business, the corporate voting delegates hold supreme power, not the CEO, not the bishop, or in the event that you have a board, the board does not even hold the power either. The corporate voting delegates hold supreme power. The delegates hold supreme power. And as such, what does that mean? It means the members can overrule anybody or anything. This is what I mean when I say that the people have the power. The bishops, the organization, these general council members, they're not the ones who hold the power. The power is held by the people. Here, let's continue. The General Assembly is the supreme governing power. This is also a DC code. The people hold the power in the organization. The General Assembly is the supreme governing power, right? That word has been a big word that we've used in our organization. That word has been a big word that we've been using in our organization. The General Assembly, the governing body, the people, the assembly is the supreme governing power. Under corporate law, the voting delegates acting as the membership body are the highest authority of the corporation. Say that again. Under corporate law, which we are under, the voting delegates acting as the membership body, they are the highest authority of the corporation. While the CEO manages, remember we talked about this, day-to-day operations, And the pastors oversee spiritual matters, right? That's why we have not had a CEO that's had responsibilities, because he's not overseeing day-to-day operations. We don't have any day-to-day operations. One second. Here. Okay. While the CEO manages day-to-day operations and the pastors oversee spiritual matters, the voting members control the bylaws. Y'all see this? The voting members in the assembly control the bylaws. The members control the Constitution. The members control the election and the removal of directors. Directors are board members, board of directors, executive officers, and chief executive officers. All of that is done by the assembly. The power is in the people's hand as the supreme governing power. The people are the supreme. The people are the supreme. They hold the highest governing power. In other words, the people have the final say. The people has the final say. The people. And this is based on corporate law, right? Corporate law. So whenever a quorum is present, a simple majority vote of the delegates override any individual decree made by a CEO or bishop. As long as a quorum is present, it does not matter. A simple vote, a simple vote. You put a motion on the floor, the body vote on it, then that vote is going to override any and all decrees made by the CEO or the bishop. Now, if the vote of the people overrides the CEO or the bishop, what does that tell us? If the people's vote overrides the CEOs or the bishops, what does that tell us? The people have the power. Look at the let me go to the next page. Yes. Secular business cannot be handled via ecclesiastical immunity. You cannot take care of non-religious business through and using ecclesiastical immunity. Again, we're now looking at the laws of the District of Columbia, and these laws are also shared in other jurisdictions. But what that means is a common trick used by rogue religious executives is claiming that their spiritual office makes them untouchable by the assembly. Now, we see this in a lot of different organizations, But what we're understanding now is, once again, that it is a trick, and it's not unheard of. It's common. A common trick used by rogue religious executives. Rogue religious executives is claiming that their spiritual office makes them untouchable by the assembly. Right? DC law draws a hard line here. No, you are not untouchable by the assembly. You're not untouchable. The assembly can take care of whatever it is that the assembly needs to take care of. When managing property, handling 501c3 corporate funds, or editing past meeting minutes, leaders are acting as secular corporate officers, not religious rulers. When you're in that meeting, it has nothing to do with religion. When you're in that meeting, the law says that meeting has nothing to do with religious practices. Nothing to do with religious practices. When managing property, handling corporate money, which is house of prayer accounts, or editing, changing anything, past minutes, past rules, past laws, anything, their leaders are acting as a secular corporate officer, not a ruler. And you're seeing this in the District of Columbia's laws. The IRS and DC courts rule that corporate fraud, financial self-dealing, or illegal bylaw manipulation cannot hide behind the First Amendment. It cannot hide behind church versus state. If a bishop or CEO uses their office to commit or hide financial discrepancies, they are personally liable. They are personally liable under secular corporate fraud laws. You want to go to the next frame? Now, if the CEO commands staff or private security to force last-minute rules, legal penalties for last-minute intimidation and property confiscation. If they force last-minute rules upon delegates, such as physically confiscating cell phones or smartwatches or eyeglasses out of fear of being recorded, then he's stepping outside of civil corporate law and now entering into criminal liability. This is why I was saying they cannot use these rules that they implemented last year, because that last year was illegal. You cannot confiscate people's personal items. You cannot set last-minute rules. You can't change things just because you have a position within an organization. All of the changes of the governing of the General Assembly, all of those changes, every bit of it, is supposed to happen during the assembly, because once again, the people have the supreme governing power over the entire organization. And they only exercise that power through the General Assembly. When you look at the confiscation of watches, cell phones, eyeglasses, taking anybody's items to look through it, These are things that you're risking: criminal theft and extortion, forcible seizure of personal property without explicit statutory or pre-existing bylaw authority. If that was not a law given by the people or voted on by the people, ratified by the people in the bylaws, then that act in itself constitutes unlawful conversion of property. It constitutes theft. It constitutes robbery under the DC Criminal Code. These are the laws of the land. And this is why I've been saying you cannot enforce an individual's desires that they make into rules or laws illegally while sidestepping the laws of the land. The laws of the land supersede the laws of the organization. It's just like in our local congregations. The Constitution, it supersedes an auxiliary in the local church, their rules. If you have a band, your rules do not supersede the Constitution. The Constitution supersedes it. The laws of the land supersede the laws in the house of prayer. And the laws of the land says that the people are the ones in power. The General Assembly has supreme governing powers, and rules made up by individuals cannot be implemented. They cannot be enforced. If they are, that becomes a problem. And to take people's items constitutes, again, theft or robbery, unlawful conversion of property, as you just read. It's a civil trespass to chattels and civil rights violations. Seizing prescription eyeglasses directly threatens a delegate's physical safety, and it violates basic accessibility mandates. And delegates can file immediate civil claims for damage against both the organization and the CEO personally. These are the legal risks involved whenever we have individuals implementing rules unlawfully without going through procedure. And this is what it is that I was saying. Where you look at the civil trespass, individuals can now take that upon themselves. They don't have to ask anyone. It's just like dialing 911 to call the police. Where we're talking about IRS whistleblowing laws, go back to the last page. IRS whistleblower retaliation violations. Thank you. Under federal tax laws governing 501c3 entities, using physical intimidation or property seizure, taking of people's property, to suppress evidence of corporate or financial fraud constitutes explicit whistleblower retaliation. This can prompt an immediate investigation by the IRS whistleblower office, risking the total revocation of the organization's tax-exempt status. I've been saying for the longest time, there's things that people can do to bring attention just like that. And we have records and incidents of individuals doing all types of things like this, including to myself, that individuals have not activated those proceedings. We're doing everything possible to make sure that the members can come together lawfully, peacefully, and have an orderly meeting. Without any confusion, disorder, or chaos. Let's go to that next frame, please. Now, we want to remember while getting ready for this next page, for anyone who's looking to be present on site, our hope is that no one does anything out of order, that no one does anything to cause any type of disturbance, to incite anything. We are looking for nothing but the members coming together peaceably without any disagreements being demonstrated. We should continue to allow these things to take its course through parliamentary procedure. This is where the meetings come in. We've been seeking meetings now since May of 2023 to avoid incidents where individuals can put themselves into risk for civil liability. We don't want anybody to take matters into their own hands. So for those of you who are hoping for certain things, I'm going to encourage everyone to kind of sit tight, to sit back, to allow the delegates to go and do what it is that they need to do. We don't want a showing, so to speak, of individuals that might create any type of unlawful order outside of the meeting. We're looking for order inside of the meeting, and we don't want anything to be created, any environment of hostility to be created by individuals that may be supporting what we're doing. We're only promoting and advocating for peace and unification. Whatever happens, let it happen. All of these things will be documented. And the very best thing that can happen is to keep clear documentation of any and everything. With that said, let's go to the next frame. We have the power to overrule the chair. And we can overrule the chair by using Robert's Rules of Order. Because DC corporate law defers to an organization's parliamentary authority. In this particular case, the assembly holds the ultimate check and balance power over any corrupt presiding officer. And as such, the chairperson who's over the meeting is, look at what it says, they're merely a servant of the assembly, not a master. They're the servant of the assembly. So even if they are the presiding officer, all that is just a title. It says that I'm presiding, and as the presiding officer, I'm only calling out who's next. But they serve the assembly. They don't have any special powers. They don't have any special abilities. And they are not the master of the assembly. They're not the master. So with that in mind, Look at that last part. If the chair refuses to follow the law or the corporate constitution, the assembly can utilize an appeal from the decision of the chair. Remember, we talked about that. I appeal from the decision of the chair, meaning I appeal to the body away from the decision of the chair, because right now you're not doing what you should be doing as a chair that's not biased. Okay. I appeal from the decision of the chair. And this takes the gavel away from the chair on that issue and forces a vote of the room, meaning the delegates hold the final right of interpretation during the meeting. The person who's conducting the meeting, they don't have the final say. As soon as they say something that the members don't like, you get to say point of order, or I appeal direction away from the chair, the decision away from the chair into the hands of the people. And then you let the people decide, and whatever they decide, that's what is going to stick. That is what is going to be, that's what is going to rule, period. With that in mind, look at the next frame. Under the District of Columbia civil law and Robert's Rules of Order, a bishop who attempts to override an assembly's votes. Let's go to the next frame. Oh, no. Let's stay here. The penalties for blocking, recording, or defying members. The penalties here. Under the DC Code, the chair of a membership meeting only has the power to establish rules for the conduct of a session, except as otherwise provided in the Articles of Incorporation or bylaws, or as mandated by the assembly. The assembly sets the rules. The assembly can overrule anybody and any group, the assembly. So when we're looking at the master motion, it is to set the tone of the assembly for that day so that the assembly can lawfully, legally conduct business within the scope of using the laws of the land, also the rules of the IRS under 501c3 regulating agencies, and under a past constitution, since the current constitution has been in question by members of the organization, of which the body and the General Assembly represents. So remember, the body does not go to do their own thing. The body does not go to conduct whatever they want to conduct. The body is there because they were elected by the members of the organization to represent the members of the organization. And so, again, because there has been some things that have come up that are questionable, the master motion allows for all of these things to take place so that the meeting can be conducted fairly and in accordance to the laws of the land, without misconstruing any of the religious practices, without the members being under a general council who's involved when they shouldn't be, by looking at apostles and chairmen and pastors in the General Assembly, which they should not be. So they're not intimidated by the seating placement of the auditorium, which it should not be. It levels the playing field so that everybody can truly say that we're here to not do anything wrong, but to do everything right. And that if anybody leaves the meeting to make accusation, now you don't have anything that they can use right off the bat to prove the truth of that allegation. So the master motion protects everybody in there. Everybody in there. So if the members are defied, if the CEO refuses to permit video or audio recording after the master motion passes or explicitly defies a validly approved majority roll call vote, then these are the things that he risks. Okay. He risks removal from office for breach of fiduciary duties. Remember, we've been talking about this. You have a fiduciary duty of loyalty to that organization and its members. You have a fiduciary duty of care to that organization and its members. The decisions that you make must be for the best interest of the organization and its members. You are a servant in that capacity as a CEO to serve the interests and whatever the orders are coming from the assembly as a chief executive officer, right? It says the membership body can vote to remove a director or officer from office with or without cause. Refusing to obey the governing body is a flagrant breach of duty. Under DC's laws, the General Assembly can remove the director of a board or board officers or an executive officer or the CEO. And look at what it says, again, with or without cause, because DC is an at-will jurisdiction. He also risks court-ordered injunctions. Members individually can file an emergency lawsuit in the District of Columbia Superior Court. The court can issue an expedited injunction, meaning quick. It's expedited, quickly, not held off, not postponed, quickly. The court can issue an expedited injunction forcing compliance and mandate that the organization pay the members' attorney's fees, the ones who went and filed that complaint. They get an attorney, the organization, or the one being implemented. This is up to the attorney. You can write it up for the person who's being implemented to pay those fees. Loss of corporate liability shields. A CEO, because they have a fiduciary duty to act on behalf of the organization's best interests and its members, the law knows that people may file fraudulent charges and try to sue you or the organization that you represent. They know that. So there are insurance policies written up to protect individuals that are in executive office or on boards and General Assembly type positions. And it protects them. But if you break the law, you risk losing that protection of corporate liability shields. The shield is your protection. If a CEO acts entirely outside the law and the authorized votes of his own assembly, courts can pierce the corporate veil. This strips away his corporate liability protection, making him personally and financially liable for damages resulting from his rogue actions. They have to pay. He would have to pay. And mind you, that would just be the beginning right, of all types of various legal proceedings as a result of that action. Let's go to the next frame, please. Under the District of Columbia Nonprofit Corporation Act, here, Chapter 4 in IRS 501c3 regulations, a bishop or CEO cannot unilaterally write rules and insert them into a corporate constitution to grant themselves permanent presiding power over a General Assembly. Do y'all see this? Under the District of Columbia Nonprofit Corporation Act, DC Code Title 29, Chapter 4, and IRS 501c3 regulations, a bishop, religious activities of a religious practice, or CEO, an employee employed by the employers of the nonprofit organization. A bishop or CEO cannot unilaterally write rules and insert them into a corporate constitution to grant themselves permanent presiding power over a General Assembly. In a secular 501c3 corporation, non-religious, the Constitution and bylaws are legal contracts belonging to the organization's members, and they can only be changed through strict statutory processes, which is what we have. But the amendments to the Constitution, it has been argued that they did not go through due process. Therefore, they're under challenge for investigation so that they can be reviewed. And the amendment process can be reviewed. And the events surrounding the amendment process can be reviewed so that the General Assembly can determine what course of action they wish to take after the completion of the review of the amendments to the constitutions. This is where the members show the greatest strength in their powers of the General Assembly. This is why I've been saying, everybody, don't worry about the General Assembly. If the people don't know the powers they have, then of course they're going to be afraid of people going into the General Assembly doing all kinds of things. Even if people are afraid, don't worry about the General Assembly. Now I hope it's beginning to sink in that the members really don't have an issue here. The only thing that needs to happen is that there's a documentation of the events revolving around the morning of the General Assembly, the gathering of delegates to the location where the General Assembly is being held, the registering of those delegates, the entrance of those delegates, and the attendance of those delegates throughout the entire process and procedure. Now, why did I say it that way? Because every single delegate has those rights afforded to them. It doesn't matter if you have 1,000 delegates. Every single one has those rights afforded to them. So on tonight, I wanted to cover the master motion. exactly as you see it here, document it. That's the first thing to be read immediately after the roll call is complete. Immediately. And then from there, I'm going to have other things. I said I was going to do it today, but I'm not. I'm going to have other things written up so that those things can be followed. And the reason why today we determined a determination was made to not put things out first. And the reason why is so that the members of the General Assembly would be comfortable doing what they need to do in the meeting, not be comfortable doing what they need to do because they're afraid and people are going to be in there trying to do that. No. Everything that I've read tonight should allow you all to understand that there's nothing that the General Assembly delegates have to be afraid of. The law says that you hold the highest power in the entire organization. And this is what I've been saying. But we need to see it in writing that the law of the land stands behind you in full support of your actions. Now, here, okay. In a secular 501c3 corporation, the Constitution, bylaws, are legal contracts belonging to the organization's members. Now, I was saying, when we look at the Constitution, people don't understand that that belongs to us. The problem in this organization is the people didn't write the Constitution. You see here, the Constitution and bylaws are legal contracts belonging to the organization's members. But the problem in our organization is that the people did not write the constitutions. This is something that needs to be fixed. These are things that individuals are trying to not fix. And that's why the master motion would allow for everything to be done with everybody being protected and everything is hunky-dory. Utilizing the laws of the land and the laws of the 501c3 regulating agencies to supersede the laws of the organization. The laws of the organization following behind the laws of the land and the regulatory laws of the 501c3 rules. So by putting them first, the members understand first, the law of the land is going to come to protect you. And you have an orderly meeting. Nobody need to get upset. Nobody need to get mad. Nobody need to get whatever. This is how you do it. And all it takes is just reading pieces of paper, talking into a microphone, standing at your seat if you're not at the microphone. But we're going to show after that first master motion that every single person will be able to come up to the microphone and read calmly and clearly so that each motion can be introduced to the floor. Somebody can second it and then go from there. No problem, no fuss, no mess. Now, I know a lot of things are going through people's heads. A lot of things people are thinking right now. I'm telling you, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Before the people get there, before the people are prepared, there will be things for people to write down and look at, and all you have to do is read it in clear, plain, easy to understand language. Now, let's go to the next frame again to show the people what it is that we're talking about. Let's go to the next frame. Let's go back one. Look at the supreme power of the assembly.
If there's one right there missing, give me a sec. I'll pull it up. You said it's called the supreme power of the assembly?
Yes, sir.
All right, 1 sec.
Now, we want to show you, and we're getting ready to be done here. Okay.
All right, got it. Coming right up.
Yeah, should be 3 frames left. The supreme power of the assembly. Before that one.
Uploading 1 sec.
Okay, here. The supreme power. Again, you all need to see this. So when we use the terms, the supreme, understand in corporate law, that means you. Corporate law sees the people, the delegates. You have the supreme power in the assembly over the presiding officer. Everything that you are looking at, this is in the code, Washington, D.C., their code of corporate law. Even if a past amendment legitimately named the bishop as the presiding officer, the General Assembly always retains the supreme power to remove a chairperson who refuses to follow the rules. The Assembly always, it does not have to be in black and white. The law supports the Assembly because the Assembly is the employer. The Assembly does not have to have something in the Constitution that says you are over the presiding officer. In fact, it's already there when it says that the General Assembly can elect or try and remove bishops. The law is backing the people up. The law will not back up, nor will it support any CEO of any organization that tries to assert authority over the people of an organization that's a nonprofit. They will never back that CEO up. The supreme power of the assembly over the presiding officer. Look at what it says here. The chair, the person who's presiding over the meeting, the chair is a servant. They're not the ruler. This has been an issue in our organization because in the General Assemblies of the past, the people did not have any say. The people were told what you're going to do, what not to do, what this, what that. In 2023, I was told to sit down. I was told I can't speak. I requested minutes. I was told they're not going to be read. Now, the way that it went in 2023 is because I understood this is not parliamentary procedure. But the people did not understand. So I let it has to go the way that's going so that the people can see all these things that's happening. And now that they see all these things that's happening, and you look back, now there's people all around the organization saying, I remember that. Yes, I needed to create witnesses. And we all know how the General Assemblies have flowed in this organization. This year, because we're all being educated, for those of you who are watching, even if it's just 10 people of the organization, 10 people in this organization, you still now know enough about the law that everything that happens in that General Assembly will become a liability for anybody that does not abide by our procedures of parliamentary, anybody that does not abide by the procedures of Parliament according to Robert's Rules of Order, anybody that does not allow for the assembly to go according to the ways that the law says they should, well, now the proceedings of the General Assembly will become a liability for those individuals. In other words, the General Assembly itself can now be used as evidence if individuals try to stop, block, hinder, or halt individuals from doing what the law says they have every right to do. But the people did not know that before. And I'm sure that there are a lot more than 10 people watching these videos. In fact, I know it. That's going to be inside the General Assembly. So with that in mind, the chair is not a ruler, he's a servant. Under Robert's Rules of Order, back to the page, please, if you, yes. The next, under Robert's Rules of Order, I'm sorry, that was correct. The one you just had. Under Robert's Rules of Order, supreme power of the assembly, under Robert's Rules of Order, newly revised, which governs DC corporate meetings, right? Look at what it says. Robert's Rules of Order governs DC corporate meetings. It's automatic under a corporate meeting in Washington, D.C. Robert's Rules of Order are automatic unless our bylaws says we don't follow them. So now you understand that we didn't have to have it in writing. that the rules, Robert's Rules of Orders, will be utilized in this meeting. We never had to have that in writing, as long as the District of Columbia automatically says every single corporate meeting will be governed by Robert's Rules of Order. That now is a law of the District of Columbia. Okay? Now we're beginning to understand that it has always been in the members' power, it has always been in the members' interest, and it has always been in the members' favor to go back and fix or review or to discuss anything pertaining to the laws of the organization. Because when you do that, you will also find that the members of the organization did not write any of the rules. The members of the organization did not discuss and deliberate the information and the details in all of the rules. The members did not write the supreme laws. That didn't come from the members. The members didn't write the auxiliary bylaws. That didn't come from the members either. The members did not write the Are You Aware? The members didn't write any of these. Nor did the members write the Constitution. But these are 4 law books with a ton of rules that we've been told we must follow. And one of those rules actually has activity that mandates the chairman to tell all the members to get up and march around the walls and give love offering and love marches. In every single service, on top of love gifts collected in every single week of every single congregation all across the country. 136 congregations every Sunday taking up money to be given to the CEO as a love gift, right? The people didn't write these rules. The people never discussed these rules. The people did not vote on these rules. The people did not ratify these rules. Therefore, none of them, according to the law, are rules. None of them. The only thing that we've been under as a rule is the Constitution, but that was because of our ignorance. Now we're under the responsibility and we have a obligation, and as the General Assembly, each and every delegate now has a fiduciary duty to see to it that we get to the bottom of questions about irregularities of the amending of our constitutions. That's why we led tonight with a master motion. And the master motion, someone reads it, will set the tone for the entire General Assembly, and we will follow up with other motions so that we can literally clean everything up in here. And we will be in line with the laws of the land and prepared just in case outside comes inside. And now you know why. Let's go back to that page again, the supreme power of the assembly. Now you know why There's absolutely nothing that the members need to fear. Look at the second, the first bullet point. Under Robert's Rules of Orders, DC corporate meetings are governed by Robert's Rules of Orders, unless bylaws dictate otherwise. The person presiding over a meeting is a servant of the assembly. The person, can you highlight that? The person presiding over a meeting is a servant of the assembly. Their job is to facilitate.
Just give me a second, but yeah, I can do that. You said
the person
in the first bullet.
Yes, the first bullet. The person presiding over a meeting is
Gotcha.
a servant of the assembly. Matter of fact, you can even put it on the tab across the screen. The person presiding over a meeting is a servant of the assembly. Their job is to facilitate. Y'all see what it says here? The one presiding, their job is to facilitate what? The will of the members. Not to act as a dictator. Have y'all ever wondered why whoever's running a meeting, you hear them echo what everybody else is saying? You've heard the motion. Are you, and it's been second, are you ready for question? Question. Are you ready for question? Not, I'm going to ask the question because we don't have a whole lot of time. No. Are you ready for the question? The question is, are you ready? If you're not ready, then I won't go on. But if you tell me you're ready for the question, okay, then I'll move forward. Are you ready for question? Question. It has been moved and seconded that we, the people, blah, 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 blah. He was repeating what they're saying because you got to put it on the floor to carry out what they wanted. The person presiding over a meeting is a servant of the assembly. Their job is to facilitate the will of the members, not to act as a dictator. Are we paying attention? They're there to do what you ask, not to tell you what to do. Look at that second bullet point. Okay. The power to turn over the chair. Robert's Rules of Orders. If a presiding officer behaves in a tyrannical manner, tyranny, like a tyrant, if a presiding officer behaves in a tyrannical manner, if they ignore motions or violates the law, we've had many violations. If a presiding officer behaves in a tyrannical manner, you can't fire me. You're not going to follow me. Get your hat and coat and leave quietly out the door. If a presiding officer behaves in a tyrannical manner, ignores motions, or violates the law, The assembly has the right to remove them from the chair immediately during that session. Now, here's the thing. Many people say, wait. Now, you just said the CEO and the bishop are two different things. And this is true. So why are you talking about what the bishop said during a service inside of the General Assembly where he's not the bishop? Very good question. I'm glad you asked. So the thing is this. This is why I've been saying they're not the same person. They're not the same person. A CEO, on the business side, they are evaluated. They get a performance evaluation. When you evaluate your CEO, in this particular instance, we are also evaluating the bishop. Why? Because the CEO is the bishop. Therefore, the behavior of the bishop is also evaluated whenever you evaluate the CEO. The performance of the bishop is also evaluated whenever you evaluate the performance of the CEO. The conduct of the bishop is also evaluated whenever you evaluate the conduct of the CEO. When you look at the misbehaviors of the bishop, the attitude of the bishop, the character of the bishop, all of those things are also evaluated in the CEO since they're one and the same. And since the bishop gave ultimatums to the entire organization, then that bishop's behavior is now evaluated with the evaluation of the CEO. And all of those things comes up with their evaluation one time per year. That's inside the General Assembly. Now, let's continue so we can finish up. If a presiding officer behaves in a tyrannical manner, ignores motions, violates the law, the assembly has the right to remove them from their chair immediately during that session. A delegate can move to suspend the rules. You see this? A delegate, anybody, can get up and make a motion to suspend the rules to appoint a temporary chairman from the floor. Anytime they want, they can get up. I move that we immediately relieve the organization of its current CEO and replace them temporarily with a replacement. Term is on the tip of my tongue, but you can have a temporary replacement. It's not advisable to do that, but you can, because things have to begin in motion immediately with the dismissal of a CEO so that the transitions can go into effect immediately. This motion requires a 2/3 vote under standard parliamentary law, but it completely strips the CEO, the bishop, of his gavel for the duration of the meeting. For the duration of that meeting, they're done. Now, you can get rid of the individual who's presiding over the meeting for the meeting, and you can also dismiss individuals from their positions in the General Assembly for the religious side. General counsel can be easily replaced. Executive staff easily replaced. General Assembly secretary, assistant, there's that, easily replaced. And I just need you all to understand now, right now, the power is in the hands of the people. The people going to the General Assembly should understand completely by now that y'all are not walking into a room to be bullied. The intent is to go in there and take care of the business of the organization. And if you don't know what the business of if you don't, talking too fast. If you don't know the business of the organization as of yet, then you simply do one thing at a time. Well, we're going to clean this up so that we can get to that. I might not know how to get to that. I might not know how to do that. I might not know how to take care of that, but at least we've cleaned this up. We're going to bake a cake. Well, I don't know how to bake a cake. I don't have the cake recipe yet. Well, don't worry about it right now. I just need you to wash the pots and the pans because we're about to bake a cake. Well, where's the recipe? Don't worry about the recipe. We're about to bake a cake. I need you to wash the pots and pans. In the General Assembly, we need the pots and the pans to be washed. That's step one. After that, you will see how we go about baking a cake. But nobody can have any cake if the pots and pans are dirty. We need to clean the pots and pans. Next page, please. Now, here, the 501c3. Last page, number 3. Right. Thank you. The 501c3, risk of an unchecked executive. The 501c3, risks of an unchecked executive. Federal law requires that 501c3 organizations to be governed by a body, not governed by a man, one person, governed by a body that prevents private inurement or excessive benefit to any single individual. Y'all see this? That's what the federal tax law requires, that the organization be governed by a body that prevents, that does not allow private inurement, is an individual that's benefiting from the organization. And this is what we've been seeing for ever. Or excessive benefit to any single individual. We don't have any parties in here. The organization's not here to throw parties for an individual. We're not here to blow little party favors and have streamers and do all these things to throw money at one individual. We're not here for the use of one individual. We're not here to serve one individual. We're not here at the disposal of one individual. We're not here to take care of and cater to one individual. Our job is, by the federal tax law, required to ensure that that doesn't happen. If a bishop alters corporate documents, you want to go back for me? If a bishop alters corporate documents to grant himself absolute, unchecked control over the people, the properties and corporate finances without oversight from an elected assembly, he violates IRS governance standards. These things need to be reviewed and looked into. And if the people don't do that, then the people will be subject to regulating agencies when they come in here. No one can alter corporate documents, constitutions, to give themselves absolute unchecked control over the people. That I'm your general head on earth and I cannot be judged or condemned by nobody but God. The law says you can't do that. You cannot do that. To have absolute unchecked control over the property and the accounts and the finances with no oversight whatsoever from the assembly. And it's actually written inside of the Constitution that the General Assembly and the congregation shall have no power over the bishop. This is a direct violation. It's a direct violation. An organization is run by a single individual with no checks and balances risks losing the organization's tax exemption because the organization no longer operates as a public charity. But now the organization is operating as a private enterprise for the benefit of one person. This is why we got to stop this. We got to fix this because we've been operating for the benefit of one person for how long? And if they come in and this is still going on, this must be fixed. You have the supreme power, and it's time to use it. Look at the next page. If your executive team or general counsel tries to claim that your master motion violates the law, you can confidently point to DC Code Chapter 4, Nonprofit Corporations Act. And these things can be stated. And we're going to stop here, but I want to go over one more thing. Do you see under DC Official Code, a frame that says under DC Official Code, corporate delegates have an absolute statutory right? There we are. Yes. Under DC Official Code, corporate delegates, you are a corporate delegate. You, all the delegates going to this assembly, you are a corporate delegate. You're a delegate of a corporation known as the United House of Prayer for All People. You have an absolute statutory right. That means a statute, excuse me, a statute that's been afforded by law, giving you the right to inspect these records. If the bishop or the secretary claims a rule was legally added to the Constitution, they are required by law to produce the exact minutes proving a vote occurred. If the bishop or secretary claims a rule was legally added to the Constitution, if there's accusations that things were put there unlawfully in the Constitution, and they say everything was legal, then they are required by law to produce the exact minutes that says that we did this officially and legitimately according to the letter of the law. They must show the minutes proving that a vote occurred. Now, you may say, but wait a minute, we did vote. You can also attach due process. It did not go through due process because what was the vote? If you look at the minutes, the vote meant the vote that was carried out, the vote that was conducted was to allow the members of the General Assembly to indeed vote. How many votes were taken? One vote. One vote to pass 47 amendments. One vote. The amendments came as a package that the members were never allowed to talk about and discuss. If they cannot produce those minutes on the spot, the rule is parliamentarily unverified and can't be enforced. That means that section of that Constitution, you cannot enforce it. Challenge has succeeded. Now, why did we go over all of this tonight? We wanted to make sure that the members absolutely had something tangible, something in front of them, something that you can see, various laws and quotations of codes and statutes, to where you would actually understand that the members in the General Assembly, going into the General Assembly, don't need to be afraid of anything. Where the members don't have to be scared of General Counsel because there is no General Counsel inside the General Assembly. Where the members don't have to be afraid of the CEO because the CEO is just an employee. And if he claims to be the presiding officer, well, then that claim does not give you any authority over us. In fact, that claim makes you the servant of the assembly. You don't give or pass orders. You're supposed to take requests known as motions and direct who speaks next. With that in mind, you now have everything necessary to go to the General Assembly and do nothing at all until the completion of roll call. You now have the first motion to put on the floor. It is the master motion, and once that is approved, you have a series of motions after that, and it won't take much longer before the General Assembly is over and the organization is in complete alignment with the laws of the land, without any lingering factors and any questions about anything else that needs to be challenged. And everything will have been done and completed as long as that motion is made and it is approved. Everything will have been done and completed openly and with full transparency. So with all of that in mind, people, we're less than 2 days away. And I think we just may very well be surprised. So for those of you who are wondering, well, what about the other motions that we need to make? And what else needs to be said? Well, look at the links that have been placed in the comments to go to Robert's rules. And there's going to be pages. And the page is going to give you different information. And that information will tell you exactly what you need to know concerning Robert's rules. Now, as we, again, get ready to read the comments and close, understand that this is a first for our organization. But it's something that happens when people know that they have the law on their side. Now, as I've said before, I know several individual delegates that's going to be in the assembly. And none of us know what's going to happen, but we now understand law looks at this. So as we proceed to go and sit back and wait, all of those individuals that's going to be there, they now have something to consider. And for all of you who are fasting and praying, you also, I want to remind and encourage to sit back and allow our Father to do what he's going to do with this situation. Because again, the truth is we don't know what he is going to do with this situation. We simply pray that his will be done. And while we sit back, we wait to observe his will being carried out. Other than that, I'm extremely happy and joyful and grateful for all of you all, and to be able to do what it is that we're doing to make individuals aware of what's been going on and what the law says about certain things and how we can conduct our meeting. And we'll see exactly what happens. But understand that if things don't go a certain way, that's okay. My hope is that people don't do anything to prevent the assembly from going in the direction of a lawful assembly. Anything that happens that prevents it from going in the direction of a lawful assembly, people, don't worry about it. You will see after that other things to allow the members to understand what it means to have people supporting you when you're abiding by the law. Okay. So with all of that in mind, we want to go to the comments and we just sit back and we'll see what happens. If change comes from the General Assembly, we will from there just begin to move forward. And we'll do things one at a time while moving forward. If there's no change that comes out of the General Assembly, we will again go from there and we'll move forward. And we will continue to move forward and watch as the days and the weeks and the months unfold until outside lets us know what they've decided to do. And again, we wait. The thing is, we know that there's nothing but evidence to support everything. And anytime there's investigations or reviews on any of these things, then at that time, things will be brought into order, hopefully. But until that time, we simply sit back, we wait, and don't stress over any of this, because if you can't change it, if you can't fix it, if you can't do anything about it, the only thing you can do is simply wait. So we encourage you to do so, while also encouraging those who are still inside to keep their chin up, to keep waiting, and to do what they're led to do from their conscience, and we'll sit back and watch what our Father does with this situation. With that said, let's go to the comments. Oh gosh. Hi, Brother Lewis. Janine says, hello, hello. John, good evening. Love the new setup. Thank you. They've been working hard. Thank you. Grateful for it all. Hello. Jamal, good evening. Zalika, good evening, Brother Lewis in chat. Good evening. Good evening. The lives of him and her. Welcome, everyone. Please subscribe and hit that thumbs up button to show your support. Don't forget to set your notifications bells and stay updated. Email address, you have it there. Thank you again. The lives of him and her. B. Mevdeman, good evening, everyone. Good evening. Restream, thanks for joining us and glad the new setup is working out. Absolutely. The lives of him and her. B. Mevdeman. Miss Mintz, hi, family. Restream, welcome to Miss Mintz. Miss Mintz, I'm so proud of the new setup. It does look absolutely good. We are thankful to have it, and we're glad that you all are enjoying it. Restream, welcome everyone. The lives of him and her. General Assembly delegates, don't be dismayed. Washington, D.C. protects your right to use audio and recording devices for transparency and possible future court proceedings. Yes, thank you. Restream, yes, sir. Me too. The lives of him and her. Welcome everyone joining us tonight. We're streaming simultaneously on YouTube, TikTok, and Facebook. Please thumbs up the video. Thank you. The lives of him and her at Miss Mintz. Wally says, hello and peace to everyone. Oh, wow. I was told about the new setup after missing yesterday. Very sophisticated. I like it. As always, thank you, Brother Lewis, for your drive and what you do. Thank you. Yeah, I had nothing to do with this. This is our team. This is their doing behind the scenes. And they've done a beautiful job so far. We're still navigating how to use everything on here, but it's a wonderful job thus far. B. Memderman at Miss Mintz. Hey, hey. Restream. Hey there, Wally. Thanks for the love and support. So glad to have you. And quality of proof. Hello, everyone. If anyone suspect waste, fraud, and abuse, corruption, mishandling of funds, tax fraud, please contact 1-800-CALL-FBI. Absolutely. True indeed. At quality of proof. As Restream. Please screenshot and save slides. Delegates. Restream says, I have no recollection. Wally, boy, oh boy, we have been fed milk for 100 years by our leaders. Brother Lewis has given the delegates meat to go in there and share meat by asking for transparency. Mind-blowing information. Thank you, Wally. Quality of proof. Good luck to the members of the United House of Prayer for All People. I look forward to hearing the results from your General Assembly. Restream. Sorry about that. I can't add new slides while live. I have to add an overlay. Yes, and again, we're getting used to all of the features on here. So bear with us. The lives of him and her. The General Assembly delegates hold the supreme authority within the General Assembly. Ultimate power rests with the delegates over all matters of governance and decision-making. I mean, it can't be any more clear than what you all saw tonight. Well, there you have it, folks, right there in plain English, says Miss Mintz. Restream, MC only. Master is honorary, right? LOL. The lives of him and her. Mr. Cunningham, you have a fiduciary duty to serve the members and act in the best interest of the members and the organization. Failure to do so can result in removal by authorized vote. It very well can. Now, again, these are possibilities. Will it happen? We don't know. It's up to the individuals that's inside. And their heart and what's in their heart and what's allowed to penetrate their heart is up to our Father. So we don't worry about none of this stuff. I'm not worried about none of this. I'm just presenting information. And if the people use it, they use it. If they don't, they don't. However, we have some things that we are looking at as well for the General Assembly. So we'll see what happens. Restreaming contracts, we didn't sign up for, but have been taught to stay in contracts. Talking about the Constitution and these other books, right, that the members didn't write, but we've been a part of it. It's been thrown at us. And Dwayne, hello, hey people, hey. Ms. Mint says, hey Dwayne, restream the supreme power over the supreme. Restream powers in the assembly of people. People pay taxes, law supports it, income source. Yes, the people who pay their taxes, the law supports them because the people are the income source of the government. Ms. Mintz, Mr. Cunningham has no power. The General Assembly. The General Assembly is the highest authority. Right, exactly. And again, couldn't make it any plainer. Wally says, Title 29, Chapter 4. My goodness, that goes all the way back to its origin with grace. Cunningham and company, it's time to come clean. Don't allow others to be accountable for your doings. Repent. Yeah, cannot say it any plainer than that. Thank you, Wally. Quality of proof from viewing your videos on this YouTube channel. Could you please let me know what happened last year at the General Assembly of the United Nations Prayer for All People? I was not as informative last year as I am this year. Last year, I was of the impression that to make the members aware of certain things that was going on behind our backs might have been enough to drive the members to want to do something about it. I may have been a bit naive in my thinking and completely disregarding the indoctrination of our people, our members. At the same token, I now look back, because that was my thought process at that time. I now look back and I can quite easily see that our Father's will was not for this to be resolved last year. So the General Assembly last year, people went in and came out almost like the same thing that's happened every year before that. But again, our members were not aware of the laws. We had a handful of individuals and we had planned something, but Mr. Cunningham had put about a bunch of security out and protocols to take cell phones and watches and eyeglasses, completely intimidating and causing fear in the people, in my opinion. And the people were just moved by that. Even if it wasn't all of them, all it takes is one individual to be moved by that and nothing happened, nothing took place. So, but again, I look at our Father who is either allowing or he's not allowing. And I wholeheartedly now look back and believe that he allowed nothing to take place in the General Assembly in order to allow the organization to continue going through what it's going through, in order to allow us to discover a whole lot of information that we had not discovered last year, in order to allow us to prepare for things that we're preparing for coming up, to allow for people to see even more that we couldn't show them last year. And now there's this shift because many people who believed in the leaders spiritually no longer believe the things that they believed this time last year. And we see this huge shift. And I think that that's the greatest benefit throughout this entire movement, that individuals are turning their attention above instead of towards man. So thank you. Thank you for that question, Quality Proof. Restream will definitely come back and address each comment shortly. Thanks for commenting. The lives of him and her, the United House of Prayer Constitution was not written by the members, and that is a major issue. In this 100th year of the organization, it is time to fix it for the future. Absolutely, it's time to fix it. It's well beyond time, right? Restream says, I thought we had free will giving. We're looking at coerced giving. Wally, the lies, facts, delegates, this is your time to get clarity, transparency, and establish checks and balances. With the law behind you and the law of the land, thank you again, Brother Lewis. Karma time. Yes, thank you, Wally. And again, I don't want to give anybody false hope. We're very confident that individuals are watching and individuals are looking and paying attention. But it's up to our Father. I need to keep plugging that in there, so that we're not overly anxious, and that we prepare for it to go either way, so that we're not upset if it doesn't, and so that we're not giving feelings of promises if it does. It's in his hands. It's in his hands. Lives of Them and Her says 100% at Wally. Restream, not quite karma, but yes, things come in full circle. Reaping and sowing, seed time, harvest time at Wally. Wally says, harvest time, I love it. The lives of Him and Her. Attention, the person presiding over the meeting serves as a servant of the people. The person presiding over the meeting serves as a servant of the people. Their job is to facilitate the will of the members fairly, orderly, and with integrity. Exactly. Yes, it is. That's exactly as we were indicating earlier. Wally says 50 years in the House of Prayer, and I never knew how much power the members had. However, I was indoctrinated deeply by generational family. And God for opening up eyes. God be the glory on the 22nd. Yeah, we'll see. We will see. Baby Blue. In the United House of Prayer General Assembly, the members only see Daddy. The members have never, ever been taught the laws, the CEO. All they know is Daddy. All of this truth and the laws of the DC government showing the different codes. The members of the United House of Prayer General Assembly do not understand their power and their rights. I've screenshotted all of these slides and the CEO that I'm currently under on the board that I serve, who has followed your videos and understand the entire process, even understand that the members, the United House of Prayer only see their daddy, not a CEO, not even a bishop. You have given your blood, sweat, and tears, all that you can give, telling the truth, showing the evidence, and the people are scared to death. I support you, as you know, but they only see daddy. Well, again, we're going to see. I keep saying that none of us knows what's going to happen. We will see. At the same token, I've been asking lately individuals that are not of the impression that anything's going to take place. I've been asking lately, should we stop doing what we're doing? Should we no longer continue what we're doing? Should we stop making people aware of the things that we're finding out, of the things that's going on? Should we just give up and give in? Do we allow the individuals that are in there to keep doing what they're doing and to continue hurting the members that's in there still, and to continue preparing to hurt future generations, the children growing up? Do we stop if we see that this does not change what's taking place in the General Assembly this year? And many people are saying, no, don't stop. Why stop? Look at what we've done so far. So again, for anyone that is skeptical, I get it, I understand. And this is where, my mind was as well. But understand that I thought about all of those things before we started, me and my wife, and we had to weigh up the cost. And here we are 3 years after we were in the General Assembly, 3 years later. And so far, the current administration has been successful in keeping these matters from coming forward onto the floor inside our organization. Should we stop and let them continue doing what they're doing, or should we continue pushing forward until this is resolved? And I don't see any reason that we should stop, because we're still uncovering so many things. And again, this is a very, very valid point, what people see, but everybody in the General Assembly does not see daddy. Everybody in the General Assembly is not supportive of what he's doing. Everybody in the General Assembly is not behind him. So we will see what happens. And no matter what, we know that eventually, the truth will prevail. And we love you as well. I love you too. And the other individuals of you that's sharing with me concerns about what may or may not happen. I want you to know that I appreciate all of your input and all of your comments. But I can only encourage you to sit back, keep watching, because we're having a ball. We're enjoying ourselves while making more and more people aware. More and more people are now watching. More and more people are listening, paying attention, understanding. They're seeing, they're believing, they're accepting these truths. We know it's a work, but the work is worth it. And so with that in mind, I'm ecstatic and itching just to see what happens, even beyond the General Assembly. I'm anxious to hear about the weekend, what's going to come of the weekend, right? So we'll see. We're excited. But thank you for that. Thank you for that, Baby Blue. Janine says, hi, Brother Lewis. Hello, hello. John, good evening. Love the new setup. Absolutely. Thank you. We thank you much. Grateful for it all. Hello, Jamal. Good evening. Zalika. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, good evening, Brother Lewis in chat. Good evening. I wonder how to. Okay, it sounded like I was reading some of the same things. So let me see if we got to the bottom yet. Oh, this is okay.
We're down right above the links, 2 comments up.
Just found it.
Got it. Okay. Solid.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. You've given your blood, sweat, and tears, all that you can give, telling the truth, showing the evidence, support you as you know, but they only see daddy. Sir, they only see daddy, sir. And I'm not upset or angry. It grieves me. But the prophets in the Old Testament went through the same. The people turned a deaf ear to what God told them to tell the people, and they are doing the very same today. I will stay prayerful as I am, but again, the delegates and the members of the General Assembly see their daddy. Yeah, and again, here's the thing. I've heard from a lot of people, what's not going to happen, what's not going to happen, what's not going to happen, what's not going to happen. But at the same token, I'm hearing from many people what is happening that the viewers, you all don't know. I encourage you, don't be grieved by any of this. Not upset or happy, agrees. Don't be grieved by any of this, any of it. We're in constant prayer. I had to learn. I can't be affected by those who I know who are still there, individuals that I just at bonds with, who tell me all kinds of things. I can't let that bother me. Lewis, you this, Lewis, you that, and you need to stop, and you ought to be. I read it, and that's it. I dismiss it. I literally think nothing about it whatsoever. Because there's way too many people saying, thank you for what you're doing. You're helping people inside, you're helping people outside. There's groups of people, there's group. And we know that for a fact. But the objective is to get the people inside the organization's General Assembly for them to fix it. But that's going to take our Father. So that said, it is what it is. And we will see when he does what he does. So there's some links here that if you pull up these links, you'll find forms that will give you basic instructions, Robert's rules, and others as well. And we have Baby Blue. I'm a firm believer that I will, Most High and his only Son, only begotten Son, will allow people to do what they set out to do if they have made up their mind. That's how they're going to go with wrongdoing. Remember, I love you as if you were my own son. And I understand your statement. However, God has already put his finger on this organization with Bailey, a statement made and delivered to him. I truly believe this is a different time and season. Oh, wait a minute. I went too far. Remember, I love you as if you were my own son. Yes, absolutely. And, I love you as well as the same as my mom. And we know that, again, there's individuals that are hurt and offended by what's going on. But I can only encourage you to not let it bother you. The feelings that we have associated with all these things, it's not going to help us. It's not going to help us. All we can do is look up, leave it there, and just live. And I encourage everybody to not let none of this bother you at all, just to live. It can be much, much worse. What if we weren't doing what we're doing? What if no one got any help ever? What if the Father just allowed wickedness and evil to prevail over the world throughout all the generations? We know the devil's going to do what the devil's going to do, but at the same token, we put our trust in our Father. And at the same time, we have to not pay attention to the stuff that's going on around here. And so I encourage and motivate all of you to simply sit back and let's just watch and see what happens. So again, I appreciate very much the outpouring and the sincerity of your words. But I also have to encourage everyone to not let this bother you. Sit back and let's see exactly what happens. Wally says, at Baby Blue, I understand your statement. However, God has already put his finger on this organization with Bailey, a statement made and delivered to him. I truly believe this is a different time and season. Thank you, Wally. And we've heard this also from other people saying this just feels different. We'll see what happens. But we're only 2 days away. The lives of him and her. Delegates, after roll call, the master motion is set. Once approved, the tone is established and additional motions can move forward. Delegates, the power is in our hands. Thank you, Heavenly Father. Absolutely. Absolutely, Wally. No harm intent ever. Just saying. Yes, we don't take anything out of context from anyone commenting. B. Mevdeman, Pastor, you are indeed doing God's will. Thank you, sir. We thank him for the opportunity to do what we're doing, and thank you as well. All goes well. We upgrade the channel's video equipment and maybe even getting a new background set up, speaking into existence. Mr. What do you believe? That was his comment. And Wally says, question, if the delegates followed through with changes to leadership seats, what would memorial services look like that weekend? Ooh. Well, we have to wait and see what happens at the General Assembly. Following any changes in the General Assembly, there will be things that's put also in the members' hands of the General Assembly for them to vote on. And that would also determine other things following the assembly. So to include Friday night, Saturday during the day, and Saturday, well, the rest of the weekend. So we have to see exactly what happens during the assembly. And sisters have been indoctrinated to believe that fighting for right in the organization is synonymous with being negative or a hater, per Mr. Cunningham. Wow, I forgot about that. Yeah. So what Mr. What to Believe is saying, that Mr. Cunningham last year, Newport News convocation, after we went so that I could ask him if he would set up a meeting before the members of the organization. He didn't respond. He, in fact, didn't say a word, but came back a little later that evening. And his subject was when haters hate. And the idea was that myself, my wife, we were there, my son, that we were the haters, hating on the organization. But again, the things that he was saying all year, still right now, is being driven towards a member and his wife who witnessed and discovered wrongdoing by our leaders and came forward to bring this information before the assembly so that the assembly could deal with the violations committed by our leaders. And since that time, Mr. Cunningham and others has worked meticulously to prevent us from coming forward to do what the law says that we're supposed to do. And why? Because he was successful at putting himself in the seat that the members look up to. And since they were not aware of the evidence that he put himself there, along with the council working with him and Miss Madison, they're of the opinion that just like the indoctrination, the one in the seat must be a servant of our Father above. And since that time, he's been trying to use the members to turn the members against anyone who's trying to bring information forward to hold them accountable for what they've done wrong. This is what Mr. What Do You Believe is saying. The members have been indoctrinated to now believe that fighting for right in the organization is the same as being negative or a hater. To stand up for what's right, or you're a hater. You need to stop. You need to sit down. You need to be quiet. How is somebody fighting for right in the wrong? How is somebody trying to stop a leader from robbing the people, lying to the people, deceiving and manipulating the people? How's that person in the wrong? Someone trying to keep the people from being continuously robbed. How are they in the wrong? This is what Mr. What Do You Believe is saying. A very, very good point. Sabrina says she is the only one who barked. That was my answer. Blessing to the family. She's the only one who barked. I don't understand that comment. If you don't mind letting us know what you mean. Mr. What Do You Believe? Is there are many who started down the road that Brother Lewis and same Lady Mimi, talking about my wife, Maria. However, many of them stopped. This is a year-old calcified untruth we're trying to break through. Yeah, there's calcium deposits that drip sometimes through the crevices of rocks, and it becomes so hard that it becomes like a rock. And you're saying it's 100-year-old calcified untruth, 100 years of calcification that's piled up and piled up and piled up, and it's hard to crack it. So very hard to crack it and break through. But, he continues, here's a victory. The membership numbers are slowly dwindling. The membership numbers of the organization, of the participants, of the contributors, of the travelers, of the attendants. The membership numbers are slowly dwindling. To see now, I was told about Baltimore last week, there was hardly anybody in the balconies, and there was seating that you can almost sit anywhere downstairs on the floor. On every pew, I was told, on every pew there was space and room for people. People were kind of spread out. On every pew, outside of a few places like Charlotte and DC, the rest of the states have very small membership numbers. We're making progress. And by very small membership numbers, he's talking about literally less than 10 people in congregations. I know of congregations that have less than 5. Now, some may say, oh, well, we've been had those small numbers. Well, maybe that's attributed to what What Do You Believe is saying? Because people of the past who's been trying to make people aware, and some of those people left. The point that he's making is not so much that the numbers are dwindling. The point that he's making is, why are the congregations not growing? If this is supposed to be what it's supposed to be, if he's supposed to be who he is, why is it that we're not growing? Why aren't people jumping in? Why aren't they falling behind him? Maybe it's because they see that he's doing nothing for no one except taking. And when we talk about writing laws for yourselves, there's no compensation that the members wrote to give to the bishop. He wrote that. And so I just said something earlier, but our members have not understood this yet. We've been under 4 law books, and our generations have been governed by it and embarrassed and humiliated and fined over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. Auxiliary bylaws, supreme laws, are you aware? Fined, all around the organization. Tens of thousands of individuals around this organization, year after year after year after year after year, fined based on illegal laws. When you look up online, is it lawful for a CEO of a nonprofit to write rules? And we covered this tonight, but the language many people didn't understand. If a CEO of a nonprofit writes rules for the members of that nonprofit to follow, are they lawful without being ratified after due process? If a CEO of a nonprofit writes rules for the members of the nonprofit to follow, are they lawful if they have not been ratified after due process? Let me turn the light down. I'm fine with transparency. Oh, somebody, okay. And here. Wait a minute. Oh, this is backwards. Okay, so let me just read it. In a nonprofit, a CEO generally does not have the legal authority to create and enforce binding rules for members on their own. You're going to say something? For such rules to be lawful and enforceable, they must align with the state's nonprofit statutes and usually require formal
I'm sorry.
ratification. Yeah.
I thought my mic was off. I was on. I'm sorry. Yeah, so your screen was mirrored. You're back normal. I took it off so you can hold it back up so they can actually see the literature now. So you're all set.
Okay.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Right here. Oh, let me turn it down again. In a nonprofit, a CEO genuinely does not have the legal authority to create and enforce binding rules for members on their own. They generally must align with the state's nonprofit statutes and usually require formal ratification and adoption by the organization's board of directors, which in this case would be the General Assembly. The legal framework. Let me write this again. I'm going to just read it faster. Legal framework for nonprofit rules. Board supremacy. Under state law, the board of directors / General Assembly is the ultimate governing body. We read this tonight. The CEO, often called the executive director, is an employee tasked with day-to-day operations. They are not a lawmaker. They are not a lawmaker. Lack of ratification. If the CEO has written rules, but they have not undergone the proper due process, being voted on and approved by the board, or if required, the voting members, they are generally invalid and unenforceable. I don't need to make stuff up. I keep doing this so that you all will see that we're being transparent. And I keep asking questions so that you all can look it up for yourselves. We don't need to make anything up. The point that I'm making is our auxiliary bylaws was not voted on by the people. The supreme laws were not voted on by the people. Neither of them the people have anything to do with. The Are You Aware was not voted on by the people. And like I said, even our Constitution was not written by, discussed by, and lawfully voted on after due process by the people. We literally have no laws that our members can truly say are legitimately legal. This is why all of this is important. But more and more, like Mr. What Do You Believe said, more and more people are coming to the knowledge of the truth. This is all we can hope for. And as long as more and more people come into the knowledge of the truth, it's just a matter of time. Hopefully this weekend will bring changes. If not, it's just a matter of time. I'm more than glad and happy to be doing what it is I'm doing. My wife right here with us. We now have individuals working along with us and offering their assistance. They're giving their time around the clock because they see the purpose in this and the numbers of people who are being hurt and robbed and broken as a result of these leaders in this organization who has been lying to and manipulating and deceiving everybody in here. And the individuals who are supporting them, they're not helping anyone, including themselves. They're helping the leaders rob them too. So anyway, let's go ahead and get ready to close out. Thank you for that comment. Mr. What Do You Believe? Ms. Corrine, hello. But why are we growing? Oh, somebody put that up. Same time, I guess I said it. Mr. What do you believe? For any members who are lurking that think that this is just a plea for attention, I challenge you to find the path to the money. Follow it. Come back and tell us who is lying. Woo. Mouthful. And with that said, that's all, folks. I'm tired. Anyway, we will get back to you in the next video. I want to thank each and every one of you tonight for coming in. Write down that motion. We're going to follow up with several motions, and we're going to be putting this out. These other motions will be out in time enough for the delegates to do whatever they need to do. They will be out. And other than that, all we're going to do is sit back and enjoy. We'll wait. I was going to offer some commentary on last weekend's speech by Mr. Cunningham, but I really don't want to do that. There's just way too much going on, and it's just, we've heard it before. And quite frankly, it's just a lot of yelling and screaming. I'm not going to put you all through that. I don't want to go through that again. In the meantime, we will prepare, and we will see you all in the next video. Enjoy the remainder of your evening and have a wonderful, wonderful night, everybody. And until next time, do take care. Bye-bye.